All right. Hi, everyone. This is Architect Takbir from DesignAware, and I'm also the director of the Fractals Workshop. I'm teaching the 30th iteration of the Fractals Workshop, Analog Algorithms, as part of the Digital Futures Summer Festival, Inclusive Futures, which aims to bring design education to more people and create more awareness. So this is the second day of our workshop, and we see some really interesting work happening in this in our Dropbox folder that everyone has shared. Really interesting explorations. So we always begin the workshop with some analog explorations, and we like to get into analog computation and analog algorithms before generating our designs. So these are some of the explorations that have been uploaded by the students and by the participants of the workshop so far. And we had a really interesting time yesterday. That was the first day of the workshop. And today we'll be looking at further exploring and taking these to the next level and thinking computationally. So Sylvia, if you're there, please take over.
Yeah. What I've done is yesterday you told me to make something small, then put them together. So I made something like this. It's his front and back. Unlike the triangle or pyramid you suggest yesterday, I feel like maybe this thing with 4 faces is more flexible because a triangle is very stable. We can't change his shapes or his size freely. So with this thing, I can put them together, then have something like that. I can't make more because if I have more, I can make something bigger. And this kind of things is very flexible. I can put it, compress them and make it more bigger. So I believe if I have more and put them together, maybe maybe I can get something more interesting like this.
Yeah, I like the idea of this tapered geometry that you have, and then you put it together and it starts to kind of curve on its own, right? It creates its own sort of form. So the bigger aggregation that you get, the more you'll understand what kind of form it's going to take. So like you said, you want to make more units and then put them together. And maybe you can also decide what ways you want to put them together, because right now you're starting with a kind of grid. So you're starting with all of them being kind of aligned to each other. Maybe you make one option like that, and then you start to stagger them a little bit. So you start to shift the grid a little bit. For that, you need to make quite a few basic units, right?
Okay.
Great.
I'm now considered like like in this one point, I put 3 units together. So maybe it can like to make a curve in the end, or maybe in this point, I may put 5 units together. I'm not sure which one is better. I may try.
I think
sometimes.
Yeah, it's a good idea to aggregate the first one that you want to do. So the whole thing is a numbers game. So you need to do a lot of different aggregations. So maybe the first aggregation that you do has all 3 units together, always 3. And then the second one you do, maybe it has 4, and then the third one has 5. And then you could start to kind of combine them. So you would have 3 plus 5, and you could decide in what order you want them, because it's not going to be random. Right?
Okay.
So for that, I think you would have to make like hundreds of little pieces.
Okay, I will try. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. Pranavshri?
Yes. So I tried. Yeah, I tried different variations like, so this is one, and this is the reverse of the same exploration. And this is an interior view of another exploration I would show. And this is again a weaving pattern that I came up with. And this was the other side. And this is again weaving. Here I took one, like I used one direction uh, as I just had strips of paper over here and then folded each one of them to create the opposite direction also. So that's how I weave that. And this is again by cutting paper and sticking all the four ends together. And this is again, I cut the paper in opposite directions and then pull them together. So this is again a similar one. So this is overlapping, and if the same thing is put in a linear format, this is the form that it forms. This is the thing before expansion. So after expanding, it can be put either by stacking one on top of each other or in a linear manner. This is another view. And this is simply a paper cut with strips on both sides, and I uh, kept one end to be a little tapered and the other end to be a little obtuse while placing it on the mat. And this is another view. These are all different views of the same. And this is the next one. I tried forgetting the first image where I interweaved it. This is the side view of the same. I tried displacing the cuts and coming up with different variants. So this is the result of the previous cut, and this one. So I joined opposite sides, and the other two opposite sides on the back side of the form. So these are other views, and this is another trial that I did, another exploration. And this is again another different way of cutting, and then I pulled out opposite tabs on one side to get a different structure. This is again, I shifted the cuts by one grid each, like it, the cuts shift down by one grid each, and I tried to bring in a curve kind of thing, but I have to still work on it. And then this is another exploration. Here I pulled out opposite alternative strips and then stuck them together to create a different form. This is the back side of the same. And this is an anti view. And I stuck all four sides of the same figure together, and yeah, it formed like a table of a flower kind of structure. This is next one. Here I cut slits over here after folding the paper, and I tried coming up with like integrating a different form over here. This is by sticking alternative triangles on opposite sides. So I tried repeating the same on all 4 sides. So this is how it was when I opened the paper, and this is how the final form was.
Mhm.
And over here, I tried to play with the same cut, but coming up with different kinds of folds to see which works better. So, and I tried this one. Here I cut triangular slits and then connected opposite ones together, and this forms a different structure. This is the back side view, and then yeah. So this is how I had cut it. So in this, it was stretchable, and when I left it, it came back to the original form or the way I had cut it. So I found this as an interesting character of the paper. So
Right. Right. Great. You're really prolific. Quite a few explorations, and I really appreciate the rigor that has gone into, this was a very open-ended exploratory stage, but the fact that you took the same theme and then you went over and over and over, did many different options with the same thing just to kind of exhaust the exploration. What do you think? What do you want to, where do you see this going next?
I found it in 5 of my models that could go forward. I can show the 4. This one.
Mm-hmm.
These are the models where I could see fractals happening actually. And this one,
Mm-hmm.
here the size of the strips keep decreasing and they meet, and it's like a
Mm-hmm.
double loop. And this one.
Mm-hmm. So do you think it would be these strips that would connect with other strips? So maybe you create another unit of the same sort, and then you connect the strips and you decide that, okay, these strips overlap and that's how they connect. So maybe what you could do is you could select one of them and then start to make multiple units. And then you could kind of label the let's say the legs or the fingers, and then maybe you label them or color code them and then see how they connect to the next one. So they don't uniformly need to connect exactly to the same fingers, but they could be staggered. They could be like the ends could be loose. It's up to you. So, and it wouldn't be random. So you would start to code how each unit connects to the next unit. So any one of your explorations would be interesting to look at, I think. So you could take one of them further and then see how the aggregation looks.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Yifan, are you there?
Yes, and I'm gonna share my screen.
Go ahead.
Can you see the screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the first model I made, and it is a very simple one, just with the paper and some card, and I for it once, and it turns out to be like this. And then I just I make the second one and combine them with one paper stick and put them together just like weaving. And so I'm thinking of maybe I can make this system by weaving with some paper sticks like this. So I can put some elements together to make it a volume or a cube or something like this. So I get to some further thinking. The first option is this one. the one which I showed you in yesterday. So in this one, my logic is like making every pieces of the paper into more pieces, and but with no cutting, because in this way I can keep them combined together, and at the same time it can give me more spaces to do some other things. But however, I found it hard to move on, because when I try to cut more things on it, it will be very messy and it will be hard to work on it. So I just turned into another option. So I end with this one. In this one, you can see me in video. I can show you more clearly. And in this one, I have more cuts on the paper, and I fold it. And in this way, you can see more layers. More layers appeared. So I'm thinking if I can turn every piece of this one into the shape like this, and I cannot only I can weave it not only by one stick. I can weave in two pieces of the paper by multiple layers, and I can weave in all of them together. And I think this might be my direction of the further study. Yeah, so this is what I have done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was also wondering how you could eliminate this kind of support structure that you have with the pen or the rolled up paper, and I think that's a good direction. So could you hold that up again, your recent model?
Wait me a moment. It's gonna look like this.
Yeah, paper is a little flimsy.
Yeah.
The latest one that you've done, that's the one that you showed a little earlier.
Yes.
The last one, the final one, kind of.
This one.
This one. Oh, this is the first one, right?
Yes.
So yeah, I mean this one requires a little bit of support, external support to stand.
Yeah.
And then the other one, the one that is there on the screen now, the picture, that I think can stand by itself. What I would like to see is how it can grow. It's a really good start. It's interesting to see that it starts to taper a little bit, but how do you grow it further? That's what I'm curious to see. So that's something I think today you can think about.
Yes. Oh, thank
because
you.
This is one that doesn't seem to have multiple units. You know, it's not going to be an aggregation with multiple units, but it's probably going to grow with more and more strips. So maybe you could take a larger piece of paper and create more slits like this, and then you have, wider slits and narrower slits, and then maybe the direction of the slits is changing back and forth. And let's see where that goes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. We have Devashri. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I started with the slit kind of thing. Can you see my screen? It's okay. I started with these slit kind of structures where they can be removed and placed in different directions. And I was actually kind of fascinated about this triangle kind of structure. And I created these kind of paper, and maybe, I'm not sure how they're going to be connected, but then they can be connected in some way where, let's say there's like some light, minimal light passing through each structures, and they're actually connected in a way. And I also created this kind of thing where the light actually passes through it when you slit. I think most of us have did something similar. And yeah, and I was also I was just exploring this, and I'll share my screen. I haven't tried this kind of this thing, how it just creeps off into a different planet or something like that. It's just different kind of exploration I was trying to do.
Interesting to see the projection of where you want to go. That's nice. I like the fact that you have these individual units. But I think what needs to be explored is how do these units interact with one another?
Yeah.
So what is the relationship they have with their neighbors, and how do they grow?
Okay.
Right. So
Yeah.
I think that would be something that you need to explore further today. But it's a good start.
Thank you.
Thanks. Professor Bhalira?
Sure, I'll share my screen as well as I'll just discuss. Is it visible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I basically started, or I wanted to keep a constraint of a square. So I started with a grid of a parallel grid first, and dividing it into four equal parts. Then those points of references on the perimeter remains the same, and then I start changing the angles, like I go diagonal, or I go from one point to converging or diverging kind of points. And I've tried some diagrams first, 2D diagrams, and then I come with the first one. Probably this is after a lot of explorations, I think this has this, as you also mentioned, that it has that multiple possibilities of connectivity. Then I tried with a pinch, which is the next one, which I'll just go to the next one. So there's a pinch in the middle, and it kind of created curves. This also has a possibility of multiple repetition. I don't know whether this will also be good for scalarity. Like if you change the scale, this might probably not work. The first one, even with the change of the scale, may have a possibility of unit and repetition kind of. So I'm trying to look at it as these are my buds of flower, or these are my bricks. So either ways, like, so that I can have scalarity, and then if I can repeat the units. And I'm trying to constrain myself purposefully into a square so that I can see how many explorations I can have. Then came this third one, which yesterday I did. It never had an intention of getting converted into a bird or something like that, but then just because it got this particular form, I kind of made a small video also yesterday. I've shared it on Instagram with some music, which also is Fractals by Pandit Kumar Gandhar, who has a lot of fractal music, has a lot of fractals. So I just tried to overlap that, and some of the explorations from my terrace garden. So I could see them, but then also it also has a kind of one particular unidirectional, single directional unit and repetition possibility where I can just interlock them, and then they can multiply. Again, the constraint here is like they can multiply only in one direction, so only the scalarity and unidirectional can happen. I'm exploring if they can also multiply in the other direction. Then I said like let's go a little different, and then I tried the next one. And here what I have done, again they are the radial lines only, which were cut in radial directions, and then there are the slits which also go by a rule, like every single the fold also changes on the grid on the line only, and the insert also, wherever the insert also changes on the same, it follows that diagonal grid only. Again, this also I am really doubtful whether this can be a kind of it is a fractal, but I'm not sure whether, or if I can just insert them one onto top of each other, it may go into the scalarity. And then I just try to explore about fold as well as little cuts. So it's not a typical origami kind of thing, because as we all know that origami restricts into a rigid form, and then you just after certain trials it just still becomes a rigid form. So I gave two cuts and tried to stick them, so it gives me a slight curvilinear form. This also I can explore, because this has that possibility of scalarity, because it has as I look at these that it should have some ground conditions, so that although I'm not trying to stick them on a base, but it should have some ground condition to stand on their own. It should have the edge conditions, and it also should have a opening condition, which this one has. This probably is a little difficult for me to have opening conditions because if I try to connect them together, I am looking at something which can be a kind of a canopy or something like that, like later on, not now, but whenever it happens, then I should also have a kind of opening conditions possibility. So this gives me like little light passing through possibilities. This may not. So these are some of the explorations, and and then this last one also is through the same, like it's again a square converted into a grid which is again diagonal grid cut alternately, and then there are only 3 points at which it is stuck. So this also I am trying to see that if this has with more number of grids on a bigger paper, if it reaches somewhere. So this is all out of squares only. I'm trying to restrict myself for this workshop, that okay, let's put a constraint and then try to have the rules, and out of square if we can have a lot of options. So thank you, that's all.
Which one do you think has the most potential?
I think this one, the first one, the very first one, and the one which I said that it is little away from origami. So this I'll just show you.
Just show this.
I feel this one is, yeah, right, this one, and because the second one, I think there are restrictions again in this. If I can explore this in little more, this has an interesting form. This one and yeah, first and second has that potential. So I'll try to do two things. One is like get a bigger square and try to add a number of grids, or so that if there is a scalarity, then if I just scale this up, then probably the surfaces will become too big. So if I can have,
at this point, and this is for everyone, I think let's not think about the scaling part yet.
Okay, fine.
So what we could do is we could think about the aggregation
same
part,
scale. Okay,
and then later we can maybe think about
not a problem. Yeah.
So even I agree with you that even though it's a simplistic one, it really has a lot of potential for how it can be grown, because it has two faces, right? So you could connect the two faces this way or this way, and you could connect them in opposite directions.
So it has more opportunity, like more options can be created.
Yeah.
So I'll try to explore this one only.
You could make multiple units, and then maybe you could number the flaps.
Yes.
And then you could restrain. Then you could put the constraints on yourself. That, okay, only this number flap will connect with this particular number.
Okay.
So that would be your beginning of your algorithm.
All right.
So either this one or the other one, both of them, I think, have the potential.
Sure. Thank you. I'll stop sharing.
I'll be happy to see where it goes.
Let's see where it goes. Yeah. Just a second.
Fatima, are you there?
Yeah.
Fatima? Hi.
Hi. Okay. I'm just gonna share my screen.
Go ahead.
So what I started with
Also,
yesterday was, sorry.
Yeah, just one more thing. So everyone, if you're, while you're watching, if you want to keep making your models and continue working on it while we're discussing, that can be done. I mean, that's up to you. Right. Go ahead.
So to get to was to create a form that is, first of all, like I said, structurally strong, and also at the same time not very it can be a little bit. I wanted to just try to not use like too much paper or too much unnecessary like folding or that kind of stuff. Simple ideas, and then I got into. Let me just stop sharing this. And then I started to work more on the origami yesterday, and I specifically focused on triangles because they're very like structurally strong. And then I was looking for like a rotation kind of thing on the paper, and I wanted it to come from a simple form and then expand with this with the exact same form and create a bigger one. And how it started was I started with like a square and then created symmetrical and equally looking triangles. And then what it gave me was, because of the foldings, it actually created 3D forms of the triangles. And at the same time, I cut out like some of the squares, some of the triangles out of it to make it a little bit lighter and to see what happens and if it's actually necessary for it to be there. And then I stuck like two parts of it together to create a form, like inside form, so it can actually turn into a structure. So it can be like, I don't know, what I had, like what I imagined was actually like just a simple chair. I was like looking at it and I was like, so this can actually hold the person, and this like attached to it, and it can just all fold into one of these triangles. And I'm still exploring on the part that it actually rotates in a way that I want and paper in it, but I haven't reached like a proper form that I'm very happy about.
What the potential that I see in your initial model is that you don't have to make the folding doesn't have to cause the rotation. So you could have units, you could have discrete units, which then come together and then they are attached in such a way that there is a rotation that's happening. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like a spiral almost, because
the attachment.
Right, I didn't get that. What's the last thing you said?
So the rotation doesn't come from the folding, it comes.
Yes. Yeah, it comes from the way that the units connect to each other. So you could have a really simple unit. You could simplify the unit into maybe a triangle or a pyramid or something like that, just based on whatever form you were getting with the fold, with the origami that you were doing. That was done in triangles. So just off of that, I'm saying that maybe you could take some triangles, or you could take something that is like a pyramid, and then you could connect the units to each other in a staggered kind of way, so that at every step or every iteration they are shifting slightly, and then it causes this twist happening. So
but would I get like
think of it that way.
Ability out of it, like for it to actually have the ability to rotate in different ways?
You need to do it to be able to know what you're gonna get. Right? That's the unpredictability of it.
Thank you.
I'd love to see where it goes.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Konstantinos?
Hello. I'm gonna share my screen.
Sure, go ahead.
Can you see?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna present you 3 of my models. This is a simple one. I did some cuts with a scissor, and it created a nice effect, I think. Can you see also my camera or not?
Yeah, both.
Okay. The second one is this. It's more geometrical, more straight lines. And also my third. The two of them are more geometrical, and the one is more, it has a nice effect. That's why I choose them. And how I reached there is just random for me. I did some folding in the paper, and it created some shapes. I don't know.
So what do you want to do with it? Do you want to standardize that? Because that is a shape that you invented, and now you could make that into a standard shape and repeat that over and over to connect with other units of the same sort.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they have potential, you know, because they are more geometrical.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong. It's up to you.
Okay.
How, you know, so it could be a crumpled piece of paper as well. And then once it connects to other units, that's when it forms a system. So as an individual unit, there's very little kind of evaluation that you can do. At this point, you can just say, okay, I kind of see that it has a potential for connecting with other units. So for this one specifically, I can see that these tabs that are coming out of it could connect to other tabs of other units, and that's how it could grow. Yeah.
Yeah. What exactly do you mean when you say other units?
So if you've created this one unit, you would create the same kind of multiple units of the same sort. So the exact same thing, you would make like 20 of them or 50 of them, and then start to connect them to each other based on a certain set of rules that you create on your own. So you decide how they connect to each other. They wouldn't be connecting randomly.
Okay.
And then that gives you a system. Yeah.
Do they have to be the same units as well, or it can be different?
Okay. So to begin with, it should be the same unit. So for it to qualify as a fractal, it needs to be the same unit, but in a fractal, there is also scale. So these same units kind of start to scale and become bigger or smaller. But at this point, at this stage, we will disregard the scale aspect of it and we'll focus on the aggregation aspect of it so that we can write some rules or an algorithm that will dictate the aggregation and how each unit connects to its neighbors. Once we decide on the rules, then you can decide to kind of scale them further or scale them down. That's the
Okay. But I think I will keep experimental.
You can keep exploring. Yeah.
May I say something on this? Yes. Actually, it looks to me as those tweaks of grass, you know, like the flowers of the grass, the way they populate, you know, a single unit of that. I have shared a few photographs, I think, on the in the morning. So there are constantly, you know, there are some things where, like, you know, they populate radially at times in one direction, and I can see that potential in this. Like many a times people restrain from having linear kind of units. It's very interesting. Like mostly we try to populate in a radial or a circular kind of pattern but this is very interesting. Like this has a great potential. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be happy to see where this goes.
Thank you.
Shravani, are you able to connect? I guess not. Ali, are you there? Ali? You want to share your explorations? Shravani, we're not able to hear you. Please try joining with your phone or something like that. Jimena?
Yes.
Do you want to go next? You could share your
Yeah,
explorations.
yeah, it's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Hi.
Hi.
Can I share my screen? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
go ahead.
Okay. Okay. This is some random explorations that I made. They don't really have a pattern in it. They just are completely like I was trying to play with the paper in this one. Just to get some kind of pattern. This is the one from yesterday. And then this one is, when I was little, my grandpa taught me how to make a ball in origami form. And so this is the ball. But in the middle of the process of making this ball, there is this kind of shape, geometric shape that forms. So I took that and I started to make a lot of these shapes and like try to glue them together. So this is one of the explorations I made. Like I was trying to make some shapes like in different sizes to try to make something out of it. And it's just this shape that is fold and like glue and put it together with masking tape. And then another one is this one. I took the triangle shape and I made, okay, I took 2 triangles and I fold them together and I like overlap them, like I made some cuts in the sides. So it looks like this put together. And then I try to make some more and start to explore how can it works like these triangles put together. And yeah, it made some spaces, some kind of spaces, and I thought it was a really nice shape. So this is one of the explorations that I like best. And then I tried to make some origami and like try to fold it in some way so it like makes something out of it. And yeah, that is all like I could get. I'm sorry for the paper. I was trying to recycle my paper. And yeah.
I like the I like this early one that you did. It kind of looks like a dinosaur skeleton or something like that. The first one.
This one?
No, the first. I think it's the early one. Yeah,
This
this
one?
in here. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah, I
interesting.
just did some paper and like I put some support underneath, like to make it more stable. And then I kind
Like the
of like,
spine.
yeah, I kind of like make this
Yeah.
curve. Yeah, and yeah, I was just trying to make some shapes.
Mhm. Which one do you think you want to explore further?
I'm not so sure. I think I want to explore more because I really like the triangle shapes, like the triangular kind of geometric. How can it be like put together so it makes something more complex? And but I am not exactly sure how I am going to move forward. I would like to continue to explore more.
Right. I think.
But maybe, yeah.
I think you can definitely explore the form and the geometry further, but also keep in mind how you can create something that has the potential to grow into an aggregation, right?
Yeah.
So I like the interlocking. I also like the triangles, which are connected to each other. I think all of them have a lot of potential to work in different ways. It's just that you need to decide which direction you want to go. And it's okay to maybe take a little more time to explore further, but just keep that in mind that you're probably going to have to make multiple of those units and then see how they connect to other units. And so today is going to be about resolving some sort of rule that will dictate the way your aggregation will grow.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Saida, are you there? Sorry, Saida. Anybody else want to share? I think she dropped out. Right. So I think it's been a really interesting discussion, seeing everybody's initial explorations. I would love to see where this goes, and I can already start to see some of the, your thought processes behind how you can grow the systems or grow the units to become systems. So today we'll be working more on that, and yeah, I think it's going to be more of a more structured sort of exploration further, and then later we'll be translating these into computational models and see where we can take them further. Right. So thank you everyone for joining us on YouTube. We'll keep sharing some of our explorations.